But obviously we do have to talk about the election result. We'll be looking tonight at what kind of Labor government we are going to get. Newsflash, it's going to be in the pocket of the Greens, totally reliant. And we will see what lessons the Liberals have got to learn from this disaster, because right now there are some who still haven't finished destroying their party. And let's start tonight with them. And the dumbest thing that I've heard a Liberal MP say today. Now, there is in fact no way a good Liberal government should have lost an election against the Labor Party so unpopular, so untrusted, that it got the vote of just 1 in 3 Australians. There's no way. It takes a special brand of stupid. And now the Liberals are having a fight over who exactly is to blame and where to go from here. Like, was the party under Scott Morrison too far to the left, or still not left enough? Listen to the Liberals' left wing. Be more like Labor.
I heard the message about women. I heard the message about climate. We needed to do better on both of those issues.
Whoever leads the Liberal Party needs to heed the lessons of the weekend, and that is, if you lurch too far to the right, then you lose the middle ground.
But for me, the dumbest take on this result came from the head of the Liberals' left-wing faction, Simon Birmingham, who reckons the Liberals promising net zero emissions like Labor under Scott Morrison, net zero emissions, still not enough. The Liberals had to be even more green. And the Nationals, he reckons, the Liberals' coalition partners in government, they should stop holding the Liberals back. Now get how we put all this, the stupidity and the arrogance of it.
I would hope that we can continue to work together, but obviously the National Party need to look at where the Liberal Party has felt this pain and reflect upon how it is that we together can manage to form majority government in the future.
A message to Simon Birmingham. Knock, knock. Your Liberals lost probably 20 seats. Your Liberals. The Nationals lost 0. In fact, they might have even won 1 in the Senate. But you reckon, Simon Birmingham, you reckon it's the Nationals who've got to learn a lesson from this disaster? It's the Nationals who have to change their ways to help out the hopeless Liberals? I mean, are you kidding? And another thing about the Liberals who lost their seats. Many are in fact from Birmingham's own left-wing faction. They are exactly the kind of don't kick me Liberals who said yes to the global warming scare, who said yes to deeper cuts in emissions, who did everything that a Simon Birmingham would want to prove they're down with the kids on global warming. Because these Liberals, who are beaten by the climate hysterics funded by billionaire son Simon Holmes à Court, include Trent Zimmerman, who promised to push the Liberals to set even tougher emissions target. Tim Wilson, the Morrison government's Assistant Minister for Emissions Reduction. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, who was a former Liberal Environment Minister. Jason Falinski, who told the Liberals it was the easiest thing in the world to toughen their emissions targets. Dave Sharma, who demanded, we take action now. And meanwhile, of course, Labor also thrashed the Liberals' Tesla-driving Katie Allen, who insisted action on climate was an environmental imperative. Don't the Liberals get it? All those left-wing Liberals preaching climate, gone. Even a couple of gays, a woman, a Tesla driver. None of it was good enough. Because the Liberals can never be more left-wing than Labor. They can never be tougher on global warming, for instance, than Labor and the Greens and the climate independents. These Liberals are gone because the Liberal Party under Scott Morrison said, whoops, oh look, we were wrong all along on global warming, we Liberals. It is a big threat. We Liberals used to say no to cutting our emissions to net zero when Labor was saying that for years. We said no, but now we've changed our mind. Children's lives really are at stake. And so, you know, when you hear that, when you hear, if you're a Liberal voter and you hear even your Liberals now saying, well, look, we got that wrong, voters naturally think, well, now if even you say global warming is a threat, why should I vote for you? Why should I vote for you when you've been so dangerously wrong for so long, but even now, you still won't do as much to save us from this climate catastrophe as the climate independents, or the Greens, or Labor? Conclusion, you're hypocrites. Can't trust the word you say. And wasn't that the knock on the Morrison government? Now I get it. Now everyone seems to be a global warming believer out there, and those that aren't don't dare say. Who dares stand against this? Why would the Liberals fight the tide? Why wouldn't they try now to be as green as Labor? Well, three obvious reasons. First, as I said, look at the scoreboard. Doing that does not work. Or look at the even more woke Liberals in Victoria. They're unelectable in Victoria. Unelectable. Second, look at your new leader. With Josh Frydenberg beaten, that leaves just Peter Dutton, the former Defence Minister on the right, as the next obvious Liberal leader, a man who is a true Conservative.
Peter Dutton will be leader. I think he'll be incredibly effective, actually. He's a person of immense character, experience. He has very deep values within the Liberal Party, and I think we need to go back to those values.
Does anyone seriously think Peter Dutton can suddenly turn into a true woke, green, global warmist without looking like a complete fraud? And three, think ahead. Whatever Labor promises, prices are going to rise, interest rates are going to rise, coal-fired power stations are going to close, especially with Labor and the Greens in power, and power prices will go up. And 3 years from now, the next election, where are the Liberals going to be? I reckon many poorer Australians will be feeling the pinch by then, the country running short of cheap and reliable electricity. Do you really think the voters are going to be in the mood to pay for even more extreme climate policies and, more coal-fired power stations down and all that kind of stuff? They'll be starting to look at the bill. Now, I know the Liberals have been scared of arguing their case on this, or in fact on so much. Look at the pathetic way they try to argue, on transsexual women offending the rights of born women by playing sport against them. They drop some candidate, undisciplined candidate, Warringah at the very last minute, stand back and think this kind of pathetic symbolism will suddenly change people's minds. They're hopeless at arguing things. I know they're scared of arguing their case. I know they don't like to do that against the mob. But with global warming, how do you know that arguing calmly, with facts, with science, and with real conviction that the scare is exaggerated, that the pain of global warming policies come with no gain, how do you know that logical approach does not work? How do you know that? You haven't tried it. And I do know one thing. You cannot win an argument if you're too scared to even put it. Now, that said, if I were the Liberals, I wouldn't actually say, right, let's campaign against this global warming scare full-throated right now. To hell with the election results. Let's go for it. I'd say, look, campaign instead on cost of living. Cost of living. It's the one topic that new Prime Minister Anthony Albanese never even mentioned in his victory speech. Let's campaign for the battlers who will feel the pinch of these power prices. And you see, it fits because the Liberals are no longer the party of the rich. That's Labor. That's the climate independents who campaigned only in rich seats. They're the ones who can afford crazy green policies. The Liberals now are the party of the battlers in the outer suburbs and the towns. I mean, just look around at the results now. The Liberals hold not one seat in Adelaide. Just 1 or 2 seats probably in all of metropolitan Melbourne. 3 if they're really lucky. None in the ACT. Most of richer Sydney, gone teal. So reinvent yourself, guys, into the party of the battlers, the party of common sense, not of the climate hysterics that are going to add to people's bills. So I would back in Peter Dutton, the former copper. I'd be the grassroots party. I'd be there in the next election to pick up the pieces when the Albanese government and the Greens and the independents drive this economy over a cliff.